Let's build a smart storage for our iron farm. There are several different layouts to choose from, and regardless of our chest orientation, the redstone will be exactly the same. So we have customization options simply by moving some chests around. Now what makes this a smart storage system is that it will auto-craft the ingots into blocks for compact storage, but it will also retain ingots as well. So anytime you need iron, you can quickly grab ingots and go, without having to decraft any of the blocks. It's also equipped with a toggleable poppy composter. So whether you just want bone meal, or you want to retain access to poppies, that will be totally in your control. Now depending on the layout of your iron farm, we may need to dig this in the floor or build a new room underneath. But either way, we're just attaching this directly to the output of the iron farm. Whether we need to run hoppers way off to the side or way up to the top. Maybe your farm has enough room for you to just plug this on without any alterations. Or maybe your beds are in the way. And if this were the case, we would need to dig out some of the floor or simply build a new storage room underneath the farm. The build area is 7 by 4, either 5 or 6 blocks tall, depending on if you want your bone meal chest to be in the floor or not. If it's in the floor, you can save 1 block of vertical space. So at the very least, we need a 5 tall 7 by 4 area under the hopper that is collecting the drops from the farm. And we're going to start off by deciding if we want to have our bone meal chest in the floor or on top of the floor, since that will dictate the height of the storage system. But either way, we're going to place hoppers and a composter going into that chest with a chest on top. An optional redstone lamp with a lever on it next to that hopper that will toggle between poppy mode and bone meal mode. When that lever is turned on, it will retain the poppies. Then diagonally up from our bone meal chest, we want 2 more chests on top of each other, with a hopper pointed into the bottom chest, and then a crafter pointed into the top chest. Make sure its face is touching the chest. Then place a hopper pointed down into it, with 2 more hoppers pointed into the backs of this chest and this hopper, with a solid block behind the crafter, 2 more diagonally down from that, and a 4th one behind that. Then a redstone torch on the front side of that block, with a repeater pointed forward into that block, with a dust behind it. Then a comparator that is looking at the crafter through that block, pointed into a solid block with a torch on the back, like so. Now we need a comparator pointed into the side of this first one. So we need a block with a comparator on it that is looking at a crafter that has all 9 slots locked, or anything that has a strength of 9. Then we want solid blocks above these comparators, with comparators on top of these blocks pointed toward the back. Then hoppers pointed at these comparators. And you could always use temporary blocks to help you place those hoppers. They just need to be pointed toward the back. But then we need solid blocks coming out of these comparators, with glass behind that, and then solid blocks diagonally down from the glass, with redstone torches on the front sides of these blocks, and dust on top of all 6 of these, like so. Now we need a solid block over here on this side, so that we can place repeaters in front of the torches. So they should be powered by the torches. Now on the right side, here at the top, we need a hopper diagonally up from the other ones, pointed down. Then 3 hoppers pointed into that one. So this hopper will be 1 away from those 2 down there. And this is the hopper that we need to plug into the farm. How you get the items there doesn't matter. If you need to go up or over or zigzag a bunch of hoppers, we just need to get the items from the farm into this hopper right here. But now inside of the left hopper pointed at the comparator, this is for our poppies. So in the last 4 slots, we need a singular item that stacks to 64, and that will never be in the farm. Then in the first slot, we want at least 1 poppy. There will always be 41 items trapped in the first slot, which is what makes it overflow protected. But then in this right hopper pointed at the comparator, we need to place iron in the first slot, and then our 4 filler items. That's stacked to 64, and that will never be in the farm. Now all that's left is to decide the orientation for our chests. So we could have them off to the side like this, or we could stack the iron chest on top of the bone meal simply by changing where we place the second chest. Now, that hopper up there at the top that's pointed down is for our string. So we just need to place chests and run hoppers from those chests to that top hopper that's pointed down. And that will be for our string. Now, one thing to think about is that our poppies and our iron are all being condensed. The poppies are being composted, the iron is being crafted into blocks, so the string is actually going to build up more than those other items. So maybe we want more than one chest just for string. Or maybe we just want a chest above or below the iron chests for our string. It just depends on how much you want to store, really. Now it won't start crafting iron into blocks until this chest is totally full of iron, as well as the hopper that is feeding that chest, the hopper that is below the crafter. Once those 2 containers are full, iron will start building up inside of the crafter, which will then trigger it to craft the iron into blocks. Now to fill up an entire double chest full of iron blocks will take a single iron farm about 78 hours. Because iron farms have the same rates, except for the clickbait ones, which we will talk about here in a second. But string is really going to be your problem child when it comes to chests filling up, because the iron and the poppies are getting condensed. Now of course, if you have a stacked iron farm, whether it's a double or a quad or a 16 stack, that's going to produce more items faster and thus fill up faster. Each individual farm, whether in a stack or not, should produce about 400 iron per hour, except for this clickbait design, the 5x5 hole in the ground. Anyone who promotes this design is not trying to help people. In fact, they're preying upon people's lack of knowledge, spreading misinformation, and being highly predatory. Like it's crazy sad, because it only produces 1/4 of the rates of a standard iron farm. And it's not actually any easier to build whatsoever. It just looks easier because the villagers and beds are just hidden under the ground. But it still has a big layer of beds and a big layer of villagers just hidden under the surface. And that's the only hard part in building any iron farm. In fact, it's harder to get the villagers underground than it is just to build them a house. So anytime that you see the 5x5 hole in the ground, just know that it's pure clickbait and highly predatory. But on a more positive note, recently I've been working on iron farms, both testing rates of various things and testing mechanics of stuff like stacking the iron farms. So once I get all of that figured out, I will share it with you. But that's all we got for this episode. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, share, and subscribe. Always remember that you are totally awesome. But above all, don't forget to have fun. Bye-bye.